Pastor Mark Burns is the founder and senior pastor of the multicultural, non-denominational Harvest Praise and Worship Center in South Carolina. Pastor Burns was recognized by Time magazine as Donald Trump's top pastor and spiritual advisor, as well as one of the 16 people who shaped the 2016 presidential election. As the creator of the international Christian TV channel Now Television Network, he brings a message of faith to millions of homes around the world. Pastor Burns is known not only as a spiritual leader, but also as a spiritual diplomat, visiting conflict zones including Ukraine, where he has publicly called for an end to the war. His active stance on defending religious freedoms and his commitment to building bridges among people of different traditions have made him a voice that cannot be ignored in discussions about the future of faith in the modern world.
Welcome everyone on Allatra TV. And today we are joined by Pastor Mark Burns.
So honored to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
You know your story when I start looking into your personality, your childhood, not that easy in South Carolina, right?
Yes.
But then that's a way up to the national stage, to the international stage, I would say, right? It's a true example for the society, to everybody, what faith can do, right?
Yes, yes.
Within the person and within a society as well.
Absolutely. But 100%. I mean, first of all, thank you so much for having me, and your voice is touching millions around the world. And so thank you for that, for sharing your platform. And yes, faith is everything for me. It is the key to the doors that desperately need to be open in anyone's life. God can take you from no matter where you're from, no matter what your background is, no matter what things you had to overcome, and can take you to the highest of heights when you're walking in his will, walking in his voice. And so for me, it is my drug. The faith of the Lord Jesus Christ is my everything. It's not something that I do, it's who I am as a person. And so I was raised that way, and it's come naturally to want to inspire other people to do the same thing.
Thank you so much for your example. And I'm sure millions and millions of people are inspired by you. And thank you for bringing this to the society. So I would like to go with the question regarding the religious freedom. So
Yes.
once, I was watching your interviews and you were saying that religious freedom is the foundation to American identity.
Yes.
And without protection, the nation risks losing its moral compass.
Yes.
So could you explain us and to our viewers, why is religious freedom not just a right, but actually the foundation of a human dignity? And what does society lose if it takes it away?
Well, I mean, you have to go back and understand how the United States of America was founded. We were founded on Judeo-Christian principles. We were founded on the belief of the Torah, the Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, the 5 books of the Bible. Then, obviously, we believe in the Lord Jesus Christ. The whole purpose of the United States of America was to escape religious persecution from abroad and to create a society where you are able to worship in freedom. And that extends to all faiths here in America, to everyone's faith that is welcome, where you can practice your faith without the persecution of the government or having your faiths taken away from you because someone dislikes what you believe. No, here in America, we were founded on that very principle. And to see organizations and people to try to destroy that, that's what it means, that it's beyond, it's a God-given right. Again, you got to understand, we are a republic in the United States of America. We're not a democracy, we're a republic. That means our rights don't come from man or laws, they come from God. And so our inevitable rights, we call them here in the United States of America. And so for that, that's what gives us the ability to worship in freedom and in spirit without persecution. So when you try to take that away, you raise up a whole bunch of people around the United States of America and say, you will not take my God away from me. I have the right, and it comes from God and not man.
It's very important to remind that people.
Yes.
It's very important to talk about that because, a lot of people just really sometimes just forgot about the very simple but very important things.
Yes.
Right? What threats do you see to religious freedom in the United States and worldwide? And which of these are truly, I would say, underestimated by the society?
Well, I see the threats that's happening in America and around the world. I mean, again, I was in India where I got to spend 10 days with my Muslim brothers and sisters who are in India. And I see the different persecutions that they themselves are coming under from different Hindu or different other faiths that are killing, not just the Christian community. And then you find that happening here in America, where we're not necessarily killing people, but we're trying to kill their voice. You have more of a liberal ideology that's raising itself up in school systems and in the office buildings and in business, where they're trying to say, if you pray out loud, you can lose your job, or if you're unable to practice your faith in public, you have to practice your faith in private. Where it used to be where people could pray publicly right before you have a meal, you should be able to pray. But in many offices around the world and businesses, they're putting a stop to that type of activity. You know, people were trying to silence others from saying Merry Christmas. They will want you to say Happy Holidays, and those type of things that have taken away the very fabric of what America has been up until this point. And so President Trump says, I want to bring back the religious freedom. We should have a right, whether you're Muslim, whether you're Hindu, whether you're a Buddhist, whether you're a Christian, you should have a right to worship in the way that you feel that you have the right to do so, without being persecuted by corporate America or by the educational system. And so that's what's happening. You have more and more groups who are raising this stuff up. But thanks to voices like yours, and thanks to many organizations here in America that are speaking against it, that are saying, like President Trump, yes, you can say Merry Christmas in corporate America. And if they fire you, come and talk to me, because we'll get your job back. I mean, it's laughable. It's laughable for people to think that knowing the country was founded on religious principles. It was founded. What the majority of the framers who signed the Constitution or signed the independence, the Day of Independence, these people were majority seminarians. They attended Bible college. Again, it's the very fabric of who America is, and I'm grateful that we live in a nation that allows us to do just that. But we can't be silent, because we saw what was starting to happen to people of faith around America, for those who had just been silent. Dr. King said it wasn't the cries of his enemies that bothered him. It was the silence of his friends. And so we can't be silent when we see other brothers and sisters, regardless of their faith, because if you go after one faith, you'll go after another faith. Am I making sense? And so we people who operate in faith should stand together and make sure that if one of our brothers or sisters, regardless whether we agree with them theologically or not, we should be able to stand together and protect our faith.
You're a pastor of multicultural, right, non-denominational church.
Yes.
How does experience actually help you to build these bridges between different cultures?
Well, you know, I look at the examples of the Bible. I mean, Paul said, I become all things that some might be saved. Paul was the greatest example of what and how we should act amongst people who don't believe what we believe. Paul did not speak ill to them. Paul did not start wars with them. Paul went into their communities. Paul broke bread with them. Paul spoke with them. Paul didn't try to convert people. Paul just lived his life. And for those who believed and liked what Paul was doing, they come to follow Paul's example. And that's when Paul began to preach that works without faith is dead, that you have to have faith. Faith is what makes you, not being circumcised, but faith in Jesus Christ. And so when you look at life example, he teaches us exactly how we should treat our brothers and sisters. You look at the life of the Good Samaritan, the very famous Bible scripture, Bible story, the Good Samaritan, that that one person passed and they didn't help. The next person passed and they didn't help. But the Samaritan, who was not a Christian, stopped and helped the individual that needed help. And the Bible lifts that person up because the heart was right. It's not about so much the religion, but the person's heart. You can have all the religion in the world and be a mean, evil individual. You can go to church, or you can go to the mosque, you can go to the temples, you can go to all these different faiths, but your heart is messed up or evil. It's no good to nobody. So I look at the examples of what other leaders have done in advance prior to, and how they did it. It's how I strive to do it. We bridge bridges. We build bridges.
Thank you so much for that. And what moment in your life, in your own ministry, actually first made you feel that religious freedom is not something like abstract, but it's a daily responsibility?
Well, President Trump really helped open up a lot of doors for me, obviously, before he was president, in regards to just being allowed to be in certain rooms that I would probably have never been in had I not been in his camp. And it's allowed me to meet so many different people from so many different religions. Whereas, where I'm from, South Carolina, you may not have a lot of saints, or you might not have a lot of Buddhists, etc. But then when you meet these people, we don't have to necessarily agree theologically, but you can see the human being, you can see the person. And ultimately, Jesus said the greatest commandment is love. Love your God with all your heart and all your mind. And then he said the second of this is to love your neighbor as you love yourself. And so I'm not compromising my belief system because I fellowship with my brothers or sisters who may don't believe what I believe. But I think the greatest example of Jesus' faith is to love your enemies and love your friends and love your neighbors and love any and everybody that God puts in your life, and to truly love them. You understand what I'm saying? And get beyond theology. Theology is man's interpretation of what they believe God is saying. But when you just get to the basic foundation of, I will love you, I will take off my jacket for you, I will feed you, I will come to your defense. That's why when I went to Ukraine, it made it so much easier when I saw the people for myself, and I saw the religious buildings being destroyed. And of course, for 3 years, I was against supporting the war in Ukraine. I was supporting, what I was being fed to believe. But then I discovered, having been there, I was able to get past the news and the noise that was creating division and get right to the human aspect, the person, the basic individual that desperately is crying and they desperately need somebody to come and help them or feed them or clothe them. That's beyond religion. That's beyond theology. Just getting to love. And so for me, it's all about love. And I think that's Jesus' greatest example, is the love that he laid down his life for us, for you, for me, for all of us. And those that even don't even believe in him, he still died for them. And so I live my life not based off of theology, but based off of the greatest example of Jesus Christ. And that's love. So when you do that, it doesn't matter who you pray to. I will still feed you. It doesn't matter who you call God. I will still love you. I will still come to your aid if you have been persecuted for your religious freedoms. Does that make sense? And that's become my rallying cry to the world. I just want to see people have a right to do what they have a God-given right to do, and that is to worship God in freedom. I don't have to force people to believe in who I know, the living God. I don't have to. I live my life, and he does what he's supposed to do, but I do what I'm supposed to do by simply just loving people. If I am a true Christian, if it's who I am, then I will love, what do we say? We love you right where you are, without trying to change anything about you. Just meet your needs and let God do the rest.
What do you think, what common values within people, regardless this, like you said, religious belief, any other worldviews or anything, what do we have in common?
Again, I was in Eswatini, South Africa, in the kingdom of Eswatini. I spoke at a mosque there. And these brothers in this very small country of Eswatini, the kingdom of Eswatini, and have a beautiful mosque complex. And these brothers let me in, and they asked me to address their community, in which I did. And as I was talking to them, I discovered, again, when you get past theology, you see the man, you see a human being. When I left Ukraine, and I said, this may be the end of my political career here, because at that time, nobody was speaking positively about Ukraine. But I said, I have to stand for what is right and not what is popular. Hence, that's why I stood with President Trump for so long, because it was right to be with him. It wasn't popular. And at the time. And when you have that mentality, and you look back and see what is right, what I have in common is almost everything. They like to eat, like I like to eat. They like to laugh. They like to have conversations. They like to talk about the future. They like to have stability. They like to be able to eat. They like to not have bombs dropped over their heads. They like to be able to raise their children without being called a terrorist. They want to be able to maneuver around the world and have a future, like all of us, the very things that we all desire to have. And when you see the human being aspect, you realize we're so much alike than we are different. The biggest problem is media keeps us so separated. Media creates walls. Media and theology and misconceptions creates these false walls that exist, that if more people would be willing to humble themselves, is really about pride. Because if you think you're the number one, then you don't want to listen to anyone else. My belief system is my belief system, and if you don't believe it, then we're not friends. That's wrong. Jesus said, consider yourself the least of them. And when we understand that Jesus' principle was, I will lead not from a throne as the Son of God, as all power that he is. No, he led from a towel, got on his knees, and he washed the feet of his apostles. And he taught us how to really serve. Am I making sense to you?
100%.
That's the core of my being. That's why I can go into any environment. I was in South Africa, and I was eating dinner with one of the Hindu gurus, one of the main gurus around the world. And we were able to conversate on so many principles that we stand together. We want peace. We want stability. We want to defend the defenseless. We want to fight for the voiceless. We want to bring out and call out the atrocities that is happening around the world. There's so much that is happening around the world. Things that are happening in Darfur, things that are happening in Somalia, Somaliland, things that are happening in Korea, and the atrocities that happen in North Korea. I mean, literally around the world. In India, people are being burned alive and raped for their religious freedoms, being hacked to death in the rural parts of these countries. And very few people are talking about them. And the reason is because that's not my faith. They don't believe what I believe. Well, you're more in love with the creation, which is religion, and not the creator, which is God. And when you're more in love with the creator, you can bypass the creation and realize that you and I are alike. I don't care what you believe. Your heart is beating. You have a smile on your face. You breathe oxygen. You want to be free. And you have a right to make decisions to create your own destiny without being persecuted for your beliefs. So when I stay there, it doesn't matter what room you put me in. I start from that place, not from the belief of your faith, but I start from the fact that you are a human being and I love you. And I will fight for you, for your religious freedom and for your human freedom. Because I'm not on the left, I'm not on the right, I'm on the human right. And that's where I start. And I pray, I go around the world trying to inspire more people to think just like that. Don't be on the right, don't be on the left, be on the human right. And when you start there, a lot more can get accomplished.
In the best position. For many people, you are known as a spiritual diplomat.
Yes.
So what kind of actually values, tools, I would say, are needed to resolve conflicts peacefully within communities and on the international actually stage, right? What does it mean in practice for you? Like what kind of tools?
The two tools that I use the most is, as I said, first one was love. The second one is communication. You have to be willing to talk to them. When you first start with love, then that pulls down the walls that you have built up, right? You throw the walls down, and you again you see the person that is in desperate need. Right now, think about those that are in Gaza and how I support Israel, absolutely support Israel, but also think about the innocent children that are happening in the Gaza. I can say that because it's not politics that leads my conversation. It's love. It's not politics. That's man-made. Government comes from God. Politics come from man. The Bible says that, and the government shall rest on his shoulder, Jesus. But politics is from man. And when you understand that politics is man-made, you can put that aside and go straight to love. Number one, you have to start with love. And every person that watches this broadcast, you have to start with love. That's where you start. The second is communication. You got to be willing to go to them. You got to be willing to be persecuted for righteousness' sake. That's what Jesus said. Again, you have to be willing to be persecuted for right. And for me, I think about those that are in the Gaza and how just today, a child who was 7 years old carrying a bucket of water, and there was a bomb that dropped about a mile away. So they started running. And then all of a sudden, right at his feet was another attack that took place. And they caught all this on camera. Now, thank God, I think he survived, but he was blown up. And I said to myself, that little boy does not look like Hamas to me. Yes, we need to go after the terrorists. Yes, we need to weed out any terrorist group, whether that's the KKK or whether that's the Black Panther Party that's buying drugs and using weapons to kill police officers like what was happening in the 60s and 70s, or whether you're talking about former gangbangers from the Crips of the Bloods of California, or whether you're talking about MS-13, whether you're talking about any hate group in America or abroad, cartels, you need to weed those people out. But you don't need to be killing little children to do it. There's a better way. You can't bomb children and call it Hamas. That takes love and communication to do that. Am I making sense? Yes, you have to release the hostages. Yes, you got to fight for those that are locked up. Yes, you got to fight for both sides. Both sides have hostages. Israel have hostages. Gaza has hostages. You have to fight for both of them. And you need love and communication to do it. Those are the two greatest gifts. And I've discovered when you love, I can bypass my personal feelings. I see the human being. I bypass my politics. I see the human being. I bypass my belief systems. I see the human being. I say love. But then once I have love, I have to communicate. I got to talk. And then it's then you discover we have so much more alike. We have so much more we're the same. Whether you're from Gaza, whether you're from Israel, whether you're from South Korea or even North Korea, the people. I'm not talking about the governments. The governments, and oftentimes, many times, are corrupt and they're greedy. And I mean all over the world. But when you look at the people, that's who we're fighting for. That's why we're here today. It's the people. Somebody's got to speak for the people. So, love and communication. For those that are watching, you got to be willing to talk to them. You got to be willing to communicate. And it may not be popular to communicate. I'm not saying talk to government officials, right? I'm saying talk to the people. And you discover the more you talk to people, the more you realize how much more we like, the more willing you'll be willing to go fight for them and fight for their rights.
100%. Without love, communication, this dialogue, how are we going to resolve anything?
Yes.
Impossible.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Impossible.
Mm-hmm.
This world is prosper.
Yes.
Within the inner things, and which are the fundamental. If you could change only one thing in the world tomorrow, what could it be and why?
I would make sure that every person in the world will have the right protection and authorities to fight for them. Because the problem is you have too many people around the world. They don't have no one fighting for them. There's usually someone stronger destroying somebody weaker. And there's nobody in between to fight for them. That will solve hunger. It will solve crime. It will solve rapes. It will solve murders. It will solve injustices that happen around the world. I'm helping a family right now in Pakistan who are Christian community. And the father lost in one moment his wife, his 3 children, because a house that was their neighbors fell on top of them. Now, Pakistan is a strong Islamic community, a nation, but these are Christians, minorities. So they're getting pushed aside. They're not getting looked at. And this devastation has caused a lot of uproar right now in Pakistan, but nobody's fighting for them. If I could change one thing, I would make sure that everybody around the world have the real, that can actually fight for them, defend them, and make it right. Because that'll solve educational gaps, again, hunger, It has solved really all the problems of the voiceless. If I could snap my finger, that means the rural places in Uganda will have somebody fighting for them and protecting their rights and bringing justices that they desperately need, helping them with food. A lot of them don't get food because they don't have the right tools to gain access to the right resources to help bless their lives, because somebody else who is stronger is destroying or preying on those that are weaker. And so that's the biggest thing that I see around the world. People don't have the right people fighting for them. They called me up and said, Pastor, can you come? Can you come? And I'm one person. But Lord, if everybody around the world, regardless of their faith, someone said, why don't you just say hunger? Well, because if you have a whole bunch of, which we already have the food now. Hunger can be solved right now. But why is it that people in some of the rural parts of the world, whether you're in Ukraine, or whether you're in Russia, whether you're in Africa, whether you're in China, there's poor places in India, all over the world, these people barely have food to eat. It's not just Africa. These slums, why? We have so much money. There's so much food because of greed. Somebody's taking advantage of somebody else. And so for me, it's not hunger, a world peace. You can get all of that if you had somebody defending every single person, but most people don't have a Mark Burns to come in their life. Most people don't have a you coming into their life to bring attention to their situation. Most people are having to fight all by themselves. They're scared every night because some band of group of people who don't believe in what they believe wants to hack up their house. We think we had it bad in the 1800s and in the 10s and 20s and 30s and 40s in America and the South. It's happening right now all over the world, where people like the KKK are showing up in their houses right now, stealing their little girls into slavery, stealing them in sex trafficking right now, burning up their churches, burning up their synagogues, burning up their mosques, because they simply don't believe what they believe. They don't like what they believe in, but nobody's standing up for them. And a lot of these people who are doing the damage have a badge on their chest representing those governments or those countries. And so for me, my message is to the people, not the governments. I do get to talk to government leaders, but my message is primarily to the people.
Thank you so much, because that's what we need in
Amen.
our world today. So one Bible verse you return to in your difficult moments.
Well, for me, it may sound simple, but for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that he who believes in him shall now perish but have everlasting life. It's so comical or elementary, but it is the core belief of everything we do, why we do it. John 3:16, why we are here, why one day our lives are going to end. For me, it's all about Messiah. My whole core being, everything we're talking about, defending the lost, defending the voiceless, speaking for those religious freedoms, it boils down to the fact that the living God gave his Son to die on the cross, that those who believe in him, they shall not perish, but they have everlasting life. That's at the end of the day, when I have some of my lowest moments, and I pray for my mother right now, who's still in ICU right now, and some of my lowest moments, I have to go back to realize, in the end, all of this doesn't matter. What matters is I please my Father who is in heaven. And it's because of him that died on the cross and he rose again. God gave his Son so that I may live. And for me, that's my bottom scripture that I have to use to pull myself up. I got a billion scriptures, but if I have to give one off the cuff, it's to remind myself why we do what we do and who God is to us. And he gave us his Son.
One daily habit that strengthens your faith.
What daily habit? Well, yeah. Prayer. I mean, the key is prayer. Prayer is the seed for answers. And so you have to have a strong prayer life. And it's not something you do just at nighttime. It's not something you do just in the morning. You pray without ceasing. For me, it's a constant prayer, talking to the Father.
One recent example of interfaith solidarity that inspired you.
Well, I mean, I have so many of them. I mean, but I think one recently is we were in, I think, India, where I met one of the master gurus. And he's very popular, has millions of followers around the world. His social media has like 7-8 million people, so it's very, very popular. He wanted to meet me when we was in the same hotel, just by accident. I was doing a television interview in the hotel on, I think it was the BBC or one of those networks, NBC, one of them, and he walked in with his entourage, and he wanted to meet me, and he waited and waited, and then he had to get up because he's so famous in that part of the world. He couldn't stay down there, but then I went to his room afterwards to meet him, and just the humility that he showed. To me, I was impressed. Again, where I could stand with him on is his love for people and his willingness to, I think about the cartels in Mexico and the Mexicans right now. Mexico City is considered the most dangerous city in the world. And there are Christians and there are other faiths that are in Mexico City. The majority of that city is controlled by cartels. And you think about how many people go missing daily. Recently, a young lady who's a Christian was executed on camera simply for feeding out of compassion a member of a rival gang. All she did was fed them, and they executed her. And they told everybody she was being killed for simply being kind. And she was a Christian. And her last moments on this world was calling on the name of Jesus. I think about those people who are there. They don't have the money to get up. They're not in the safety of the United States of America. And they're under attack for their religious beliefs. We have to keep those people in our prayer. But I was excited to meet him, and the compassion that he too had for people like that. And that was because it's very rare. Most people, they want to take a picture. They want to get something out of it. They want to look famous. They want to look popular. But when God elevates you, you have to keep a humble heart. Again, lead by washing people's feet and not about lording over them for who you are.
One piece of advice for believers who want to serve society without losing themselves.
Well, you have to remain humble. I talk to my sons and daughters of the Lord. Usually the first thing I say is to remain humble. See, all of this doesn't matter. This is great to be here. I'll be speaking, I think, to thousands of people here when I leave here today. But all of this stuff doesn't matter to me. I'm reminded of what I'm called to do. God gave me an assignment to do, and I'm simply following his voice. But I also know who I really am. I know who I am when I'm by myself. I know who I am when my faith gets weak. I know who I am when I get angry or scared. I know who the real Mark Burns is, not the advisor to President Trump or Time Magazine, and all these things are great. But I'm constantly reminding myself who Mark Burns really is when the cameras go off, when the lights turn off. And I think about that person. And when I live in that person's world, all this other stuff doesn't matter anymore. So for somebody that's watching me, if you want to be used without losing yourself, remember who you really are. Constantly remind yourself of your weaknesses because God knows them. And not to beat yourself down, but to remember you're not Superman, you're not Superwoman. You're a human being, you're a normal person. And God will use you if you're willing to go, but you have to remain humble. You have to remind yourself, no matter how high God takes you, you are nothing without him. He and he alone gets the glory.
Pastor Mark Burns,
yes.
We are truly, thank you so much for taking your time, for your courage, for your heart for the people. And for us, it's a big honor to just sit and talk about this so much important things today with you. And thank you for your spiritual diplomacy, I would say, right? And may your voice and your work will continue to open doors more and more every single day.
Amen.
To bring the peace.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for your voice.
You.
Thank you all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.